of wood or metal in, and it will cut according to a drawing program a part of whatever it is that you want to make. So when we look at their case, the CNC machine planning, basically, so to plan the machine, the problem that they had was that their CNC machines were not optimally used, and that was an issue, and their parts logistics was not sufficient. So they actually want the CNC machine, which is a very expensive machine. They really want to optimally use that, and that was a problem. So the solution that they had was, let's build a CNC planning tool and have automated handling of exception processes. And the idea there is that sometimes a part won't come out correctly, like the CNC machine will make a mistake, or maybe the source material that you put in has a little fault in it, and that makes it break. Or just during production, you break a part, it happens, and you have to reprint it or recut it in this case. So they wanted to have a better process for that. So ultimately, when they created that tool, they got a more efficient and effective use of their CNC machines, which was the goal. Their production facility is now scalable, so they can actually take this process from one, let's say one factory, and actually multiply it to different places. And they're now also automating the next part. So you can understand that if you have this starting part done, so it's all automated in the beginning of your production process, then the next step would be for them the assembly process. And if something goes wrong there, that there's a message back to reproduce a part, so they can optimally automate all those processes. So that's what they're doing. Another example, this is a case actually done also by PragmatiQ, so they know maybe more about it. So if I say something wrong, guys, then please jump in. But Bjornbox is a company that has sort of a logistics for fashion shows. So they have a smart system where you can easily ship fashion all around, and it's a way more efficient system that they have, but they needed an application to handle all of their smart logistics. And they said, look, our application looks simple on the surface, but has very intricate smart software under the hood, and they use Trigger actually to make that smart software under the hood to handle all of their back office processes. So in their case, the problem was that the manual processes for logistic planning, it's manual. It takes a lot of effort, right? So it's impossible to scale when they want to scale that. So their solution was to make automated orders so that their clients can automate the orders, the tracking, the drop off of everything, sort of a status system that tracks that for their customers, and also have automatic email updates so the customer always knows, like, where are these boxes for my collection heading, instead of having to basically have to call or email or whatever. So that's what they built, and for them the result is that they're now ready to scale the process across Europe. So they've actually started doing this, which is really, really exciting. They have those real-time updates, so the customer always knows, I sent this box from, I don't know, Amsterdam to Copenhagen. Where is it? Is it going okay? And they have far fewer errors, obviously, in handling, because it's no longer a manual process, which means that they can do more with far fewer hands. Here's a little bit of and we can't show sort of the inside of the application, but this is their their login screen that we are allowed to show of their application, so you have a little bit of an idea of what that looks like. But those are some of the cases, so you can see sort of what results you can get. It's a very wide array. Like, one's logistics, the other one's planning. We have a lot more cases that are done, but obviously, what we're here for today is seeing an application built from scratch. And what we've done is we discussed a little bit of what we're going to do, and we came up with this idea that we're going to build a small quality assurance application. Let's see. Here we go, a quality assurance request system. So let's assume that all of us are a workplace inspection company. So we inspect workplaces, right? If something is up with your workplace, you can send a request to have it fixed, like, oh my God, my chair broke, I need it replaced, that sort of thing. we're quickly growing companies who want to automate these things instead of having the email system that we currently have, because it's not automated. So we want to automate the registration of issues. It's a simple sort of case that I think that everyone can get into as an example. So what we're going to do is we're going to build an issue request system. And people can register their request using their smartphone, or obviously using their web browser, just easy like that. And we're going to show you some back office handling of those issues in a simple way. And the steps that we're going to take to build that is we're going to build a request form and a simple overview that everyone can use. Then we're going to, after that, when we show that, then we're going to build some back office handling. And then if there's any suggestions of things that you might want to see, or like questions that you have, like, oh, can we build that? Then I'll try to really quickly think if I can make a smart move to build it. And then I'll build it live if you have an interesting suggestion. So that's what we're going to do, a little bit of a request system for quality assurance. So I have this. This is the environment that I'll be using today. So this is the instance. I'll show you this again in a second. The screen. You can scan this with your smartphone and you'll end up there. There's nothing there yet. So right now, if you go there, it's going to be an empty application. But we're going to build one. So I'll switch to the designer that I have there. I think it's this one. Here we go. Let me make this full screen. Okay, so this is the Trigger designer. So this is the environment in which you design an application. And I'm going to basically walk you through a design that we're going to make. So here we go. So at the top, you can see that we have design, publish, and versions. There's a whole version control system here, which creates an autosave every time that you publish a new version of your application. So it stores the older versions, so you can always go back. Publish, I can, if I'm done with my design, I can publish, and we only have, we call it a lab environment. It's a test environment. This one is for some exercises where you can learn Trigger. That's when it's used. And we have design, which is actually designing your application. So we're going to dive right into design. And when you go to design, you see a couple of things. You see data, flow parts, automation flows, user flows, and appearance. And I will explain what these are first. So this is where every application stores some data, right? So a request application would store some information about a request. Well, that is something that you have to tell the application. So that's what we're going to do at data. And then with that data that you store, such as a request, you can make processes. And these processes, we call them flow parts. Think of this as like business logic. And we'll dive into that as well. Automation flows, then, they use those processes to run in the background. These are your background processes. Maybe you want to have something run every day or every hour. Or automatically based on some other event. That's what you do there. We have user flows, which is a combination of user interface and workflow. It's basically, it combines the pages that the user will see and the logic, the flow parts, that business logic that you've built into one visual system. And then in appearance, you basically manage what the application looks like. You edit the menu and everything like that. For today, we're going to start with data. You see that we already have a user. User has an email and a name. This is a standard functionality that is in there. But we want to store requests. So what we do is we click on this plus button here, and we'll add something, a data item, to store something. And we'll call this request. So this way, if we add this, we can now store requests. But obviously, we need to decide what we want to store for requests. So, well, a request would, for example, have a description, which is a text. So we'll add a text, and we'll call it description, because I want to describe what kind of problem or request I have. So that's one. Also, maybe it's handy to have a date and time of when the request was created. So we'll use a date time. So you can see that these fields are very simple to use and easy to understand. Instead of being very technical, it's a very straightforward description of what it is. Another thing that we want to do is we want to add a photo, because if my chair is broken, I want to send you a picture of how bad it looks. So let's do this. So we'll call it photo or something. so that we can add a picture to an item. We'll also add something like, let's see, we'll have an email address that you can fill out for a reply. That might be handy, something like reply to. So as you can see, I can type whatever I like, and it will say it's an email address. I can give it whichever name I want. I'll call it reply to. Also, I would like to have your name. I'll call it requested by. So whoever requests a issue, we'll have that here. It's a text. And a status. So we can also make a status, which we call a pick list. So you can imagine that a request goes through several states. For example, new, and then it's in progress, and then it's closed. Very simple. We can always expand on this later. And we'll call this status so that we have sort of a status of our requests. And then ultimately what I want is I want some user in our system, someone who handles these requests. So everyone can issue them, but I want our back office people, that would be me, to be able to handle this. So what we do is we create what we call a reference to a different data item. So here, create a reference. And we'll say, so a user, right? I want to link it to a user. And then let's say handle by. And then Trigger will ask you, like, okay, so we have got this request and this user. How do they relate to each other? And well, a single request can only have one user. So we can only have one person handling it. Yeah, that seems good. But a single user can obviously have more requests that they handle. So we'll choose the more than one request there. And you see that the image here changes. You can even do, if one request could be handled by multiple users and then they could have multiple, you can see that it shows you how that would work. But in this case, we have a single request with one user. One person handles the requests, but they can handle multiple requests. And then we also have to give it a name for the user. Handle requests. And what Trigger does is it shows you here a little line that indicates that a request, which is handled by a user, links to a user, and here you can see handled requests. It's a list of requests that the user handles. So now that we have set up this sort of data that we can store, it is time to go on to our user flows so that we can make a simple form that allows us to make a new request. So we're going to start with that. We don't have any user flows yet. And remember that a user flow is a combination of a user interface and workflow. And you'll see really quickly why that is. So in Trigger, you can use a wizard to make many of them. And we'll do that in a second. But you can also start empty, which is what we're going to do right now. So we'll start a new one. And we're going to call this one new request, where you can issue a new request, and that's what we're going to make. So you see a start point there. We're going to go with a plus. We're going to go into this, and we can add things to this flow. And you have to sort of imagine that this is going to be a visual workflow that the user can follow. And you'll see in a sec what I mean. So we'll add here a page. This is the first thing that we're going to do. So when the user starts here, we want them to see a page that we'll also call new. I keep hitting the tab button. New request. And Trigger will show you a page. And then we're going to go into this page. And this is also interesting that I'll quickly show you. So Trigger will always indicate if something is not done or you've removed something that it requires to build software. So in this case, we cannot do this. We cannot go to publish. And if we say, I want to publish, it says, ooh, we have an inconsistency. Something is not exactly right. And that means that you first have to solve that. This prevents you from actually publishing a design that's half done or has a mistake in it. But then obviously, how do I know where it is? Well, it says here there's one problem in my design. So I click that. It then says it's at user flows. So I'll click that. It's in the only user flow that we have, which makes sense. You can see that. And then I click it, and then this page is red, which means something is up in here. And as you can see, there's nothing here yet, and that is a problem. So we will be making a page here. So we'll add some content. And in this case, we'll add some form fields because you're going to be able to make a request. So I'll do it one by one. The first one that we want is we want to store someone's name in a request. So we're going to make a new request from this form. I'm going to say, let's say 50 should be enough for your name. Your name. At this, we don't need any help, text and other things. That should be fine. It should be required. Yes. You can see that Trigger really guides you through this process of making things. So here we go. Now we have a form field that's required. You can see that with a little star with your name. We're going to add more. We're going to add an email address. So I'm going to do this. Sorry, that was not the right one. We're going to add an email address that you can enter in there as well. So here we go, email address. So you see, Trigger has all these simple things, simple ways to choose the fields that you would need in your applications. We also want to have this required, so we'll go through that. We don't want to add a value already. You're going to have to do that yourself. And then we're going to add a photo. So we're going to allow you to upload a photo. So form field again. Here we go. Make you able to upload a picture, photo. There we go. Next. Required. Yes, everything is required in this form. Very simple. And then finally, a description of whatever it is that you encountered. No, I do it again. There we go. Also a form field, also text. But this time we'll want to have a couple of lines of text, I think. That should be more than enough to describe your problem. Label, description. There we go. Yeah, required, obviously. So this is how you can build a simple form step by step. Trigger will just ask you what to add next and how to do that. And then the next step that we're going to make is that what are we going to do when we fill out that form? Well, we can add here on the page, we can make a button like this. I'm going to call it submit. And what this does is it will lead us to another action that we can do. And in this case, what we want to do is after you click submit, we're going to do a little bit of logic. Now, Trigger, you can make decisions here, you can make flowcharts and the page, but we want to make a little process happen so that when you click the button, that Trigger starts doing something. And it already has built in a number of those processes for you based on what you've done in your data. So for example, we can create a request easily now. So I'll use that. And then Trigger says, okay, cool. These are all the fields that you've set that a request can have. Which ones do you want to set to something? Well, let's start with the created. We'll use a date and time that is now. So we always have this current date and time so that whenever you create a request, right, it just registers the current date and time. Now the description, we have that on that page. So we're going to fill the description with a text that the user has entered in this user flow somewhere, which means on the page of new request, you can see these are the texts that you can fill in. So Trigger shows you exactly what you can use. You might notice that, for example, the date is not here because the date is not a text. So Trigger helps you in making sure that you have a limited selection of things that you can fill in that will match whatever it is that you need to fill in. This makes it a lot easier and faster to create. Well, we also have that photo that we submitted. So we see on new requests, we can have a photo. So it really filters out only the photo. We use that. Reply to is going to be your email that you've entered. So we use your email, right? So you can see that I can select these fields very easily. And requested by is also a text from the user flow. That is your name, right? So this way we've set it up. We'll put it in the status new, the specific status. There we go, in the status new. Stream.
I see there is some kind of a connection issue. But yes, so he's returning right now. Just one moment, please.
Hey everyone.
Yeah, he's back.
So my internet decided that it's not a good time to do a webinar or something. I don't know what that was. But I've switched networks. I'll refresh. Yeah, so I'll do this again. I'm not sure where I cut off, but I'll just go. So we've made that page with the form on it, and what we're going to do is we're going to, after that, we're going to have this button say submit. Maybe some of this would show, but we'll submit the form, and then we can basically ask for Trigger to do a process. So it will execute a process. In this case, and Trigger has all these processes built in based on also the data that you've already made. So it will create ones, and later on we'll actually probably make one for ourselves, but we're going to create a request here based on the form fields that we have. The first one is, so it says here, like, look, if you create a request, right, all these properties that you've added, you can set them. So we're going to start with the created one, the date and time that we want, and then we can just select dates and times, and the current date and time is always available, so we can just use that one. So that any request that you make at that moment, that date and time is saved. The description is also entered by the user, so we can say, okay, we have a text somewhere in this user flow, new request, that's that page that we have the form, it has a description on it, so enter that. And you can see that Trigger will actually filter out what you can do. So if I click the photo, then it will show you, like, yeah, the only thing that you can do really is the photo that you've entered on that page that we made. So we'll add that. Reply to is going to be the email address that you enter. So we're going to say, like, new request, your email, right there. There we go. And then requested by is the name that you enter in the form. So we'll select that one. Here, new request, your name. And then finally, we'll add a status. We'll set it to a specific status, new. There we go. And then we click done, and then we should be there. And then we can see that when the user goes from the start to this new request page, click submit, a request is created. And obviously, then what we're going to do is we're going to show a nice page that says, you know, it's been successfully created. This. And on that page, we'll just add a simple message saying, like, some text. Here we go. Text on this page to say, your request has successfully been submitted. We will contact you by email soon as possible. Also add placeholders in here. So for example, if we want to show the email for the user, where we are going to contact them. We can insert a placeholder. Again, you can see all the things that you have in that user flow. So for example, on the new request page, we have the email there. So we can set that, for example, here, and then that will show on this page. Okay, so now we have a page set up like that. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to add another user flow for an overview of requests, so you can actually see that your request has been received, because it would be nice to see that. So what we're going to do is now we're going to use a wizard, and we'll use an overview page. This will show requests on that, and we want to have let's see, what do we want? Description handled by. It's not needed. These ones are not needed. Status is handy. There we go. Something like this. This is fine. We'll just need an overview page. Description. No, we'll also create a description, photo, status, like this. Something like this. Okay. Sort order. So now we can sort the items. So we'll do the latest at the top, largest to smallest, and we'll call this all requests or something like that. Okay, so now two user flows, and this all requests user flow super simple. Just made one page, and on that page, you'll see that there's a table, and that table will actually show things from requests. So we'll go into that right now. We'll add these two. So we go to appearance, and then we're actually done with our first version of our application. So here you can see that we can add stuff. We'll add here. Let's see what we'll add. We'll add requests. Add this. For lack of a better one, I'll call it request as well. And then we add our user flows. So we'll add the new request first, so that people can add a new request. And then the all requests section underneath it. And that's it. Then it's in there in our menu. And we can go back here, go to publish. And now we can actually create the application. So when we click Lab Now, when we want to publish, it says, yeah, are you sure? Because, you know, it will be a new version. Yes, I'm sure. And now what Trigger does, and that might be different than other things that you've seen, is Trigger will actually build software. So it's actually writing code very quickly in the background and then publishing that code into the Trigger cloud platform so that you can actually go to the application. For those that might have a little bit more technical background, there's a Microsoft SQL database that's being created in the background. There's the business logic and everything is custom programmed by Trigger, and then it's all published to an Azure web server. So it's all automated by that one click of the button. You don't have to worry about all these things, and that's how it works. So now, what we can do is we can go here. So if you take your phone and you scan this. Let's see if I'll also scan it myself. There you go. And you open that, you should see, and the first time loading, it can take a second because the first time that you access the application can load a little bit longer, but you can go here and then you can actually submit a request. The nice thing about this is when you have a form on your phone with a photo, you can, oh, I have to open it up for everyone to see. Okay, let me do that quickly. So since I use a different instance, there's already some rules, roles and users. So what I will do is I will create a quickly a role section that will allow me to issue that everyone can make that. So we'll go to user flows quickly. We need this anyway. And use the wizard again, and we'll quickly make roles and permissions. So just say this, call it roles and permissions. add it to here. Admin. Go. Add roles and permissions. And while we're at it, I might as well also add a users one, so I can manage users. So we'll add another user for here. Users. There we go. Cool. Users. You can see how easy this is, and these flows are actually more intricate. So you can see it does a lot more. It's the same process. It starts, it loads roles, shows a page. You can click buttons, right? So it's just a more advanced version of what we've built by hand, and this really makes it very quickly in terms of development. Oh, wait, let me add this to the menu as well. So I'll add this users here. And this is actually, it's an interesting thing. So when you publish something, Trigger will not automatically make everything public if you have previously set up roles like I have here, because that would be maybe a security issue, because Trigger doesn't know whether you want to have that open or not. So it actually means that you have to tell it that it should be opened up. So that is what we'll be doing. So again, we publish, and Trigger will actually keep all the software that was already there, but it will just expand it with new features. So that's just what it will do. Let's wait for a second. Okay. Let's see. This is me loading the application right now. So. Okay, so we have here roles and permissions. I'll go there quickly, and I'll open up for unregistered users. So you can see this is I can actually go in here and say, like, look, what you can access is this requests part, and this we will not do. So you can go in here, but not into the admin section, which means that if you now reload the application on your mobile phone and you're not logged in, you should see, if you go to the main URL again, then you can actually see. So you got to remove, if you're on that URL thing, the auth login thing. So if you go here, then you can see that you can now make a new request. And I'll also open it on my screen in a second. But if you go here to this URL that we have here, then you can issue a request. And I'll quickly issue one for myself. Yes, your email. This. Okay. Okay, and then if I click the photo thing, I can actually take a photo. So I will take a photo. I'll use that. And if you have anything like a suggestion of something for me to make, let me know in this description. You can also choose another picture, and that's fine. Please hurry. Please show more. Here we go. Submit. Okay, so I've now submitted that, and if you see that as well, then if we go here to all requests, you can see that there's a couple of people here that have submitted something. Cat Pragmatic, nice. So I have this one here, which I have. Now there's a couple of questions, so I'll dive into those at first. But you can see that when we enter something as new request, right, it shows up here. And the next step that we'll do after this, and I'll answer some questions first, is that we'll actually make that back office handling. Someone asked, like, what language is the code generated in? Well, I can answer it. First of all, it doesn't matter, right? But in any case, it's C#, it's JavaScript, it's SQL, T-SQL, transaction, it's for the stored procedures. No, you cannot access the generated code, so it's a very long question. And you cannot add your own code. So the reason that we do that is we believe that you should really have no code. So that means not a single line of code you can add yourself, which has downsides, but it also has a lot of upsides. And many of the upsides are that any update to our platform, you immediately get the latest version of the platform automatically without having to worry about anything breaking down. And we actually publish all the applications when we have a new version of our platform. We actually publish every application again because there might be security updates and things into your application. So the reason that we do that, the whole no code, is just to make sure that it's as little hassle for you as a user as possible. So that's that one. Let's see. Yeah. Thanks. Cool. We'll show that for sure. Yeah. Someone says here, indeed. Yeah. This is really no code. These are answers to other things. Let's see if I have all the questions here. Yeah, the connection issue. I'm not sure if I have all of them now, but I think I do. Let's see. So this one I have answered. Okay, here we go. This is the other question. From a user perspective, I would like to be notified about new requests, and the notification should come through a channel that I prefer, like WhatsApp. Is that possible? Yes, that's definitely possible. For now, I am going to show you in a second by email. But you can hook up Trigger to like Zapier. You can connect it to other systems, and then you can definitely use WhatsApp. You can use whatever you prefer, basically. So that's definitely possible. So I'll show you the email in a second. How easy and how good can Trigger be used to build a front end on top of a low-code database like Xana or Beckman? Do you think it's better to use Trigger own data? I would always use, in this sense, Trigger's own database. Obviously, you can sync data, etc. But the reason that we do that is speed of the application. So anytime that you have to transfer data or get data from another system, right? Because of such a big abstraction in Trigger, so Trigger is extremely easy. That makes it fast, but it also has a downside. The downside is that if you abstract that far away, you have to gain the performance back. And we do that by having all the parts of Trigger, so like the database, the processes, and everything on our own platform and in our let's say stack. So yes, you can definitely do that. So if you have certain processes there, you can definitely make a separate application. But what we usually see is, in this case, is that it's a bigger backend system, for example, that is more rigid. For example, low code or something that they are like, okay, that works well, but now we want to have, for example, a department or something else, a smaller area to really make a specific application. And then they use Trigger for that because it's very flexible. And then they would just have the data in there, but part of the data. So yes, you can do that, but I would definitely use Trigger as the entire platform and not mix it too much unless you already have a system right there. But for one application, I would always use Trigger, its own database. Going in there, let's make a quick change to the backend here. So I'll switch back to my designer. And what we're going to do is basically, I want to have a list of requests where I can pick it up. And that means that sort of to link it to me. So that's going to be fairly simple. So I'll have a new user flow here. I'll start with an empty one just to show you again. We'll name this new requests. And we'll add a little page here with all the requests that are new. So we'll call this new requests. And go. And on this page, what we'll do is we'll just show a whole, like a huge table of just the requests. So here we go. Data from a data item. That's what we want from. So basically directly from our database, for those who know that. And we want to show requests. So here we go, request. And then we can just simply show everything, right? But what we want to do right now is we actually want to apply a filter. And that filter should be this. Here we go. A property from the request, and in this case, the status. So we go here and see the status of that request. You can see how Trigger always shows, in any case, only the things that you can add. So it makes it very simple. Status equals, and then we want to say that we only want new requests. So what this does is we now have this little rule. Okay, I want only those requests that are in status new. It's a simple rule. There we go. And the things that we want to show there are when it's created, description, photo, who it's requested by. That should be fine. There we go. So we'll sort it on, this is fine. We'll sort it on requested by like this. We want to have a clickable preview of the image. Here we go, created. Newest on top, just because I like that. We don't need to download it for now. So you can also create very easy functionality like downloads of that. And then the only thing that we'll do here is we'll say pickup request. And you can make this button now available only when you have a selected item in the table. So this is a handy thing. So we'll make it available for when you select an item. No additional rule here. It's fine. Any item, we'll add a little process flow part. And what we'll do is we'll call this, we'll use this one called update request. So we make a little change to request that you have selected. And what we do is we select which one you have. And you can see that you can now select from this page the selected request in the table. Here we go. What created is fine. And we want to say handled by. And then we have always the current user. So I'll be logged in. I'll pick it up. It will be assigned to me. And then the status will set, in this case, to in progress. Here we go. Done. That's it. Right. So we can pick it up. And then after that, we'll just go back to the same page with new requests. You're welcome. I get a thanks for answering. Always. My pleasure. So this way you basically you make a simple way that we can pick that up. And then obviously when I have a list of I want to have a list of items. So I'll make another one very quickly. Let's do this. And I'll my requests where I'll just show my requests. So I have some things that that I want that I've picked up. So my requests is what I'll call that, and I'll just have a table with the ones that I have picked up. So I'll do the same thing. Yep. And in this one, what we'll do is we'll do the same thing. So what we'll show in here is again a block, but will show only my requests. So this way you can make like screens and make them in different stages. Basically, I'll do it in a slightly different way this time. So I'll have a request here, data from the user flow, right? And the current user actually has that handled request. Remember that back in the beginning of the webinar, I made this link between user and request, and we called it handled requests. So I can just show which ones I'm handling. So here we go. Actually, you know, I'll do it differently because we want only the ones that are in the open state. Let's make it like that. So we'll use requests and we'll make a filter for that. That may be different. But in any case, so you can even get like linked data that way. And this is a really easy way for making a multi-tenant system. So for example, a system where every customer only sees their own data. In this case, we'll do the same thing. So we'll say request property, and then we'll say that handled by is equal. And again, you can see that trigger really only shows what is compatible. Current user. So I can select anything. This is the only thing that's compatible. So, yep. And we only want those in, let's say that the status has to be in progress, so that we have that as well. Here we go. So we'll say that that is in progress. Create a description, photo, something like this. This is fine. Also good. Sorted on created, largest to smallest. There we go. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to answer the request. Let's put it like that. So we'll say answer or something like that on the button, and we'll apply it to an item. And you can even make it so that, for example, the button is only shown for example, a certain status item. So you can say, okay, only show the button on the status this or that. So we'll make an answer page, very simple, where we just allow you to type an answer. So we'll make a form field which has an answer. Next. Answer. Oh. Oh. Text. Should it be required? Yes, it should be required. And here we go. No. Okay. And then from there, we want to go on. But in this case, what we'll do is the first step is we'll say like run. Or send answers may be nicer, right? Send answer. So now we'll submit this form, and we said that no additional rules. Here we'll add a new decision. And the first step that I'll do is again one flow part to update the request, and we'll set it to answered because we're going to set it as answered. So we'll again select whatever I have selected on that page, and then we'll set the status to closed. Here we go. But we also need to obviously actually send the answer. So for that, we're going to make our own little flow part with more logic. So we'll go in here and we'll make a new flow part. So you can see that these are all light gray. I can't edit them because they're built in. But if I go here and I say send answer or something, send answer, go. We can make our own process. So a process like this, it will have some inputs and some outputs if you want. So we'll start with an input. And the input is going to be a data item of a request. and we will have an answer. Let's say text, any text. And then we can start building our process. So we'll start here and then you'll add an action to your little process. And for this one, the first thing that I want to do is I want to actually store this answer in the request. For example, I could have also done that in a different place, but we're going to do it here. So we'll edit the request. That's the input. And then we'll say, okay, what do you want to do? Well, oh, don't we have an answer? Oh, we didn't do an answer there. Okay. In that case, we're not going to do that. I thought I had an answer field there. I can always make that, but what we're going to do instead then is just immediately send the email. Email. Here we go. And we say, hi, and then we'll enter the name. So we'll insert solar. And then from the inputs, from the request, we can select, where's the name? Requested by. Hi, requested by. Your request has been answered. Here's the answer. And then we'll insert the answer just from here. Okay. Regards. Go. We'll add a specific subject. Answer. And we can send it to the email address that we've stored in that request. So you can see here the reply to email address. We'll send it to that. And we'll send it from here. There we go. Well, we can add an attachment if we want. So, for example, what we can do is just for fun, we can send you back the photo, for example, of the thing. So the answer, there we go. So now we have that, and then we can just already finish the process. So we're keeping it fairly simple. We can make it very complicated. You can add decisions and everything. But for now, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to go back into our user flow where you can now see that something is up because we haven't finished it, right? So in the user flow, we're sort of left hanging after. That's not good. So what? Here we go. User flow just made. Send answer. And then with that, we can send as an input the answer and say, okay, where did we get that? Well, from here on that page, the answer that we typed, and the request is select the one that we did on the first page. There we go. And then the last thing is to connect it back. We'll go back to the My Requests page. So we have a little bit of a circle there. Here we go. So now we have a page where we can answer requests. We'll add them to the menu again, and then I'll come down to some questions. So here we go. Let's see. Add them here. My requests and new requests. Here we go. We have to obviously again publish. Here we go. And this now updates the whole application, but the data that we've had entered, because we entered some requests, that will actually stay there, right? So that won't go anywhere. It will actually be preserved, and your application will be updated. Now, if you make changes to that data, then obviously some changes will be made. If you remove something like the description, then that data will obviously be removed. There's always a backup that we have in our system, but that's how it works. If you add fields, they'll just get added. So there's a whole migration process actually also taking place as we are doing this to actually upgrade the application. So this is that's that. We go here again. We'll refresh, which first time may take a second. So just have to wait for a sec. So when we have the requests now, you can see that we have here the list of all the all the new requests. So I'll pick one up. This one. Can you complete this request? Workflow kind of thing. I can. Anyway, so we say pick up request. Remember, this assigns it to me, and it is removed from this list. It is now here in this My Requests page, right? And I can answer this. Say answer. Yes, I will do all my best to answer your question. Send it, and this is now the email sent, and the status is changed to closed, so it doesn't show up anywhere anymore, except for here at the all requests. I think we still have it here. You can see that it's now closed, right? So this is how that works. Bart will have received an email, and this way we can pick other ones as well. So you can see here that yeah, this is sort of how we can pick up requests. I may have sent a very large picture. I was trying to click that. So to show you a little bit more, like maybe workflow, we can say that maybe we want to, because I like that question, maybe we can make a automatic handling when it's in a certain category, for example. So let's say that we have a request and it has a category. So I'll add a category here. I don't know. This might work. IT chair desk. These are the best categories that I can come up with right on the fly. Custom sorting because it's fine. Proper name is category. Category. Okay. Now when we enter a new request, right? So here at a new request, we want to also add the category. So what we do is on that request page, we'll add the category as a field. So form field. There we go. And it's a pick list, and it is the category pick list that you have to enter. Any item, category. Oh. Yeah, and what we do then, yeah, it should be required. Do not refill. Oh, all fine. Okay, so the category, we have to also store it with the request that we create. So this is important because obviously here we want to have the category from this. There we go. And what we can now do is we can say, okay, so we create the request, but maybe here, if it's a specific category, we want to maybe do something else. So let's say that this request, or actually here the category just that we've entered, we'll make a decision in this category. So you can make all these decisions. Fred has to go. No worries, the recording, you can see the rest. You'll see a little bit of this as well. Thanks for joining in any case. Also, yeah, like John says, on the 2nd of November, there's a no-code, low-code summit. I'll also be speaking there, hosted by Pragmatic in Utrecht in the Netherlands. If you are able to come, it's really cool. There's really cool speakers there, and not just me, but like way cooler than I am. So make sure that you're there if you want to learn more about this. And yes, John, I'm talking about you. So the name for this decision that we're making here is, let's say this is the, let's call it which category, just to, oh, come on, type. Okay, so which category here we have this little thing where we say, okay, which one is it? And now if I want to assign it to me, I might have to make a little process to assign something to me. And so I'll make a very simple one that says, I'll make a process that says assign to yes, something like this. Check one thing because, yeah. So we will, no, wait, we have to add an input, a request. There we go, just a request. It's an input because we want to have a request that we can now automatically assign it to me. So we have a request here. We say, okay, we have to find this this user. So we're going to look up at some data, a user, and we'll say that the user property name, I don't have many users in there, equals. So this is the simplest, fastest way I can do this. You would probably make it a little bit more advanced if you would make it in a production system. But let's say that we just want yes, single user. Here we go. Me. Rico has to go. That's
I think again some connection issues. We're almost going to wrap it up. Let's see if he is returning. Yes, he's back again.
Yeah, this is not very helpful, is it? I even switched the whole network anyway. Yeah, so Enrique said that he has to go. I was saying that I will answer the question that he raised. So make sure to look at the recording. So okay, I've made this action where we actually find my user, and then we'll edit this request and assign it to me. So we'll add here an action. Very simple. Edit the data. There we go. We'll edit the request. Boom. And we'll handle by, and then we can say a user here. Yes, so that's me. There we go. Boom. And we'll also immediately put the status in progress because it's now been assigned to me. There we go. Next, assign. All it. There we go. And then we can end the process, and then we can use it in our user flow. So let's say very quick, simple process, just to make sure that we can show that you can make sort of automated decisions based on what you want. So anything in IT, right? If it's IT, yes, a recording will be available when we're done, obviously. So we'll add a new flow part here, and we'll say assign to Jesse. Same thing, input as a request. Just create a request. There we go. And then after that, here we go. We connect it to the page. So in this case, if something is in the category IT, it will be assigned to me. And just to, before we publish, make sure that I have answered the other question as well. And the question, let me see if I have it here. So this is the question, like, can you have a graphical view like chart? I'll make a quick chart page. I'll call it statistics or something. Statistics. I'll just make a very simple one. Here, a page. Statistics. Oops. Add page. Just add like one big chart here. Chart. Pie chart, for example, based on requests. and we'll show the status of the request. And we'll just show all data. Very simple. Single series, that's fine. It's also good. There we go. So we'll have a request statistics page, which shows division of all the requests. So here we go here. And then we'll publish again. So that's a fast one to make. And then I'll show you that in the application in a second when it's published. So what we've done now is that when a item is in the IT category, right, it gets assigned to me automatically. Now you can do a lot more. Like you can make many more of those decisions and automated processes like that, where you have a certain status or a certain moment or a certain date of time. You can basically make this dependent on your own custom process and make those decisions based on how you want to handle a certain thing in your company, which means that many of the processes you can actually handle them, I would say, sort of on an exception basis, where you can only show those items that actually need manual handling in a list for workflow, but the other ones that you can automatically do, you can just automatically handle them in the background, and that way it's a lot faster. Yeah, so this is the screenshot that I took of my desktop setup there. So let's refresh this. And we will have a couple of new options available. So one is the statistics. Yeah, here we go. We can see that we have one closed item and still have 5 ones that I should actually solve, right? So we have that division there. And remember that when we had a new request, we now have a category. See, I have something. There we go. And if we select IT here, we submit this request. We will see that when we go to the what's it called? The all requests, that this one is actually now in progress instead of just new, right? You can even see it here. So if we go here, we can see it's in progress, and it's now, if I did it correctly, it's in my requests. See? So now automatically, if it's IT, it's assigned to me, it's in progress. That's just an idea of how that works. Since we ran a little bit out of our sort of planned time, not necessarily as much. Yeah, Valerie, well, thanks for hanging in for 10 minutes later. Yeah, please be in contact. As we said, Pragmatic, you can email Vincent. You can contact him at. I actually have that here. Let me just make sure that we put that in here, and then I'll come back to that. So Vincent Martini at pragmatic.nl, because you can easily get in contact, and they know a lot about these different cases and how to use Trigger for your case. And they will definitely also tell you if you should not use Trigger. This is very important to Pragmatic and us as well. As like, we really want to make sure that people are successful with this. So what I've showed you today is just a little bit of a tip of the iceberg. So I'll go back a little bit just to show you, answer some of the questions that some people have really quickly. We sometimes ask, yeah, it's only like we've only been at it for 45 minutes or so. So it's like, how complex can you make it? Well, you can go very complex. This is a air freight calculation process. So this is one of those flow parts with a very advanced calculation, which takes into account US dollar prices, euro prices, weights, sizes, and everything to calculate what the cheapest way to send something is. So there's definitely a lot of complexity that you can build, but obviously in 45 minutes with explaining that is a little bit too much, even if you know the platform as well as I do. That would be a stretch, but you can go really far, and you can make this in I would say like in an hour and a half. You can definitely make this if you know your process well. And also the question came up earlier, can you connect to different systems? Yes, you can. You can hook it up to Zapier. There's also other ways to connect it to other applications. Like if you have a service bus in your company, we can connect it easily to that as well. So there's really a lot of easy ways actually to connect to these different applications. Through Zapier, it's a simple one. And for example, the WhatsApp question, you can definitely use, for example, I think Trello has, or what's it called? Twilio, sorry, has an option to send it so you can have it linked to Twilio. Whenever you have a message, send it through WhatsApp or other channels. There's definitely ways to do that with that. And also, many of the today we started from scratch, but when you contact Pragmatic, they won't start from scratch all the time, because these are some of the templates that we have. They have their own ones where they have, let's say, the basis of a good application, or so that they can really quickly help you get up to speed with your application with the basics already in place, so they don't have to build that obviously every time anew, which further increases the speed at which you can do that. I think that I've answered the questions for now here. Again, if you want to get in contact with Pragmatic, vincent.martini@pragmatic.nl, and make sure to join the low code no code conference in Utrecht if you are able to on November 2nd. I'm looking forward to that a lot, and I'm sure that Vincent and John are also looking forward to that. Vincent.
Thanks, Jesse. Thanks for showing a lot of trigger. Thanks for attending. If you got questions, you see my email address. We also made some connection during the webinar on LinkedIn. So keep in touch, and thanks for your time, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.